Kids are moral through their own experiences and through society around them. So my morals, my judgment of other people's morals is based on my experience. So when you ask why is that wrong, because I think it's wrong.
That's my point.
It's not the be all end all. What I say is always moral or immoral. To me, looking at pictures of little boys naked is wrong.
So it's up to the individual.
But yeah,
Okay.
and society, that's where rules and laws come in, is we enforce kind of our own social norms and values. But I appreciate it. In the back, no orange.
Thanks. I'm Danforth Taylor.
Can you speak up?
I'm Danforth Taylor, and I'm almost a junior here at MSU. And my question was, obviously the video gave a lot of insight, but from your personal experiences, what are some ways that you have been oppressed or you have been given less opportunity because of your decision to become atheist and be open about it?
That's a great question, and I think that all of us could probably go on for a long time here. I don't know.
For me, I guess it's just staying the norm. It's easier just to stay the norm. Like, both my parents were Christian, I'd say. Like, I mean, I guess now I find out my mom is more agnostic. My dad's pretty conservative Christian. And it's just a lot easier to stay in the norm. And I think as long as you do that, you don't have to worry. But then I think when I came to college, I found out it's a lot, I feel a lot better knowing and figuring out more. It's a short answer.
I think a lot of us have lost family and friends over coming out as an atheist, if you want to say. I know I've lost friends over it. I think a lot of us probably have. I don't know if anyone else has.
I haven't had really any major problems, I guess, that I know of. I mean, there may have been things, but I can't speak to it. But I know there's some people in my family, after talking to them about it, like extended family, that they've never said anything, but I think if I was talking to their kids, they might think I'm being a bad influence, which, I mean, I wouldn't preach to their children about atheism. I don't think that's right either, but I guess I've never had something that specifically I felt like I was personally discriminated against, I guess.
I'm actually an Eagle Scout, and the entire time I was in Boy Scouts, I was never like a closet atheist, and nobody really cared. It was just like, that's your belief.
My uncle is, but this isn't my personal experience, but my uncle is gay, and he's got a partner, and it's really bothered me that my grandpa just absolutely hates this, is disgusted, and that's one of the reasons I turned to atheism, is because I find it just disgusting that somebody can just abandon basically their kid because he's gay, and it drives me nuts. I brought something here that I wanted to read. I know we're not going into the Bible, but I just have one passage I want to point out. Sorry guys, but it's from Leviticus chapter 11, verse 9 through 12. And all that have not fins and scales in the seas and in the rivers, of all that move in the waters, and of any living thing which is in the waters, they shall be an abomination unto you. That's basically saying eating shrimp is a sin, is an abomination, you should be killed. And then in Leviticus chapter 18, verse 21 through 22, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to Moloch, neither shalt thou profane the name of thy God. I am the Lord. Thou shalt not lie with mankind, as with womankind it is an abomination. From my interpretation, that's saying that you should not lie with another man. And if you're going to say you can't eat shrimp and you can't lie with another man, I mean, we're eating shrimp and nobody has a problem with it. Why do people get so disgusted by it?
Yeah, that's a question. No, actually, I was going to see if you had a follow-up on that.
I guess a follow-up would be just like, have you experienced any flat-out personal attacks, and maybe from someone close to you, or maybe a coworker or a classmate, and how has it affected you personally?
Well, I personally, my mom, when I came out, told me I was the devil, and she didn't talk to me for a long time. In terms of anywhere else in the public. I've never been specifically harassed about my atheism, but that's unlike people of color. It doesn't say atheist. I don't wear a big A on my shirt, so people don't always know. But there's been times when it has come up where I feel like they are frowning upon my lack of belief, but I've never been personally persecuted for being an atheist. So, this gentleman here in the front had a question.
I'd like to ask him a question, if that's all right.
That's not what this is for here today, but do you have a question for us?
Well, it's sort of related. He asked where you got your morals. I'd like to ask him where you get his morals from.
Well, I'm sure that you guys can talk about that afterwards. In the black?
It's just sort of a lighthearted question, but if there was some kind of God, and you got one question to ask him, what would it be?
Why didn't you show everybody in the world over the last 2,000 years? Why couldn't you just show us instead of that one book that was written thousands of years ago? Me.
I'd like to ask him which religion is right, so I can convert to that one really quick. Be done with it, no more of the guesswork.
I'd like to ask him why all the self-loathing inherent with religion. I'd like to ask him about contradictions and why, the mind games inherent with religion. I don't, and same with Nate. Why haven't you bothered to do anything, really?
I think mine would fall around the same.
I'd probably ask how many licks does it take to get to this?
Also a valid question.
Thank you, I'm not the only shallow one here.
The gentleman in the green.
Yeah, sick for the golf work, but I'm a way ahead myself. There's a saying there are no atheists in a foxhole, and I always thought that was kind of an intriguing saying, but I think it taps on that carnal experience that we have to provide to something that we don't know at a certain point in time. And can you expound upon that and how institutionalized religions almost feed off of our basic unknowledge of something, and then turn that into a dogmatic presence and how that affects society?
Wow, you're asking for a very scholarly dissertation. I guess this is all my opinion. I really don't have a lot of anthropological knowledge to back this up. I think religion came about because when man first developed his frontal cortex and became self-aware, he also at the same time became aware, he or she became aware at the same time that he or she is mortal and will die. And wasn't very well equipped to deal with that at that time. And I think, my personal opinion again, this is where religion came from, the idea of an afterlife. It's kind of it was a comforting thought that all of a sudden that, back when a person first started walking upright, the life expectancy was probably 30 years. It's not a real long time. So it probably provided some sort of comfort, and that comfort somehow led to more procreation of that thinking, belief, and I think it just kind of went from there. As far as how institutions use it, like modern day churches, again, you're asking for a very long answer that I quite frankly don't have 3 years to do research on yet. I guess you're asking a very difficult question. I don't have a real simple answer for you.
Well,
Is there the whole?
I can add a little comment, I guess, that I think a humbling experience with atheism is not knowing and accepting that, realizing that we don't have all the answers and we might not ever. And it is kind of a scary thought. It'd be nice if there was a paradise that we could go to when we died, and I don't know, whatever you do, but to accept that there isn't that, it is kind of scary, but it's also humbling, and that I think your life here becomes so much more important to respect other people's right to live the
actually,
same.
a follow-up on that. Are you guys saying there for sure isn't, or are you mostly saying, I'm not really sure, so I'm not going to focus on one thing that I can't really prove? Sort of
Yeah.
Because in a way, I almost think that's an inverse dogmatic saying,
Yeah,
it really isn't, you know what I mean?
to clarify, I think, I'm sure everyone on the panel would agree, but it's, as Richard Dawkins would say, there almost certainly is no God, which